Hello everyone, and welcome back to History of the Ancient World. Today we're embarking on a journey back in time to a land of sprawling empires, profound philosophies, and groundbreaking inventions. We're traveling to ancient China, a civilization whose legacy continues to shape our world in countless ways. From the legendary dynasties that rose and fell along the fertile banks of the Yellow River to the brilliant minds that gave us Confucianism and Taoism. Ancient China is a treasure trove of captivating stories and incredible achievements. So get comfortable as we unravel the epic tale of one of the world's oldest and most influential civilizations. Our story begins not with emperors and armies, but with myths and legends. Ancient Chinese tradition speaks of the Xia dynasty, a semi-mythical dynasty said to have been founded by the great hero Yu the Great around 2070 BC. Yu is celebrated for taming the great floods of the Yellow River, a monumental feat that allowed civilization to flourish. While concrete archaeological evidence for the Xia is still debated among historians, these stories are crucial. They laid the foundation for the concept of the mandate of heaven, the idea that a just ruler had divine approval to govern, which would dominate Chinese political thought for millennia. The first dynasty with solid archaeological proof is the Shang dynasty, which ruled from around 1600 to 1046 BC. The Shang were masters of bronze casting, creating intricate ritual vessels that are still admired today for their artistry. But perhaps their most fascinating legacy is the oracle bones. These were turtle shells and ox bones used for divination. Priests would carve questions onto them, heat them until they cracked, and then interpret the cracks to predict the future. These inscriptions represent the earliest form of Chinese writing, the direct ancestor of the characters used today. Through these oracle bones, we get a unique glimpse into the concerns of the Shang kings, from military campaigns and harvests to toothaches and dreams. The Shang society was highly stratified, with a king at the top, a noble class of warriors, and a vast population of farmers and artisans. The Shang dynasty eventually fell to the Zhou, who established the longest-lasting dynasty in Chinese history, reigning for nearly 800 years, from 1046 to 256 BC. The early period, known as the Western Zhou, was a time of relative peace and stability. The Zhou solidified the mandate of heaven to legitimize their rule, claiming the last Shang king had become corrupt and lost divine favor. They established a feudal-like system, granting land to relatives and loyal nobles in exchange for military service and tribute. This system worked well for a few centuries, but as time went on, the regional lords grew more powerful, and their loyalty to the Zhou king began to wane. This led to the Eastern Zhou period, which is further divided into two major eras: the Spring and Autumn period and the Warring States period. This was a time of immense turmoil and fragmentation. The Zhou king became a mere figurehead, and China splintered into hundreds of competing states, all vying for power and territory. It was an era of constant warfare and political intrigue. Yet paradoxically, this period of chaos became one of the most intellectually fertile times in human history, known as the 100 Schools of Thought. Imagine a time when philosophers traveled from state to state, advising rulers and debating the best way to govern, the nature of humanity, and the path to a harmonious society. The most influential of these thinkers was Confucius. He wasn't a king or a general, but a teacher and a minor official whose ideas would fundamentally shape East Asian culture. Confucius emphasized morality, social harmony, and respect for elders and authority. He believed that a well-ordered society was built on strong family relationships, and that rulers should lead by moral example, not by force. His teachings, compiled in a book called The Analects, became the bedrock of the state bureaucracy and educational system for centuries to come. But Confucianism wasn't the only school of thought. There was also Taoism, attributed to the legendary sage Laozi. Taoism offered a different path. Instead of focusing on social order and ritual, it emphasized living in harmony with the Tao, the natural, underlying way of the universe. Taoists advocated for simplicity, spontaneity, and wu wei, or effortless action, going with the flow of nature rather than struggling against it. Then there was legalism, a far more pragmatic and ruthless philosophy. Legalists, like Han Fei, argued that people were inherently selfish, and that the only way to maintain order was through strict laws and harsh punishments. They believed a strong state and a powerful ruler were paramount. These competing philosophies, Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism, created a vibrant intellectual landscape, and their ideas would be debated, blended, and reinterpreted throughout Chinese history. The constant conflict of the Warring States period finally came to an end in 221 BC. The state of Qin, guided by ruthless legalist principles and led by an ambitious king named Ying Zheng, conquered all its rivals one by one. After unifying China, he gave himself a new title, Qin Shi Huang, meaning the first emperor of Qin. He was a monumental and controversial figure. To centralize his power, he abolished the old feudal states and divided the empire into 36 commanderies, all governed by officials he appointed directly. He standardized everything: weights, measures, currency, and most importantly, the writing system. This standardization was a stroke of genius that fostered unity and communication across his vast empire. He also initiated massive construction projects, including the first version of what would become the Great Wall of China, connecting existing fortifications to defend against northern nomadic tribes. However, Qin Shi Huang was also a tyrant. You see, he suppressed all opposing thought, famously ordering the burning of books and the execution of scholars who disagreed with him. His rule was based on fear and absolute control. His obsession with immortality led him to commission a tomb of unimaginable scale. This tomb is guarded by the world-famous Terracotta Army. Thousands of life-sized, unique clay soldiers, chariots, and horses, all built to protect him in the afterlife. Despite his power, his dynasty was short-lived. The harshness of his rule bred deep resentment, and just a few years after his death in 210 BC, widespread rebellions erupted, and the Qin dynasty collapsed. Out of the chaos that followed the fall of the Qin, a new dynasty emerged, the Han dynasty. Founded by a commoner-turned-rebel leader, Liu Bang, the Han dynasty would rule for over 400 years and is considered a golden age in Chinese history. The Han learned from the mistakes of the Qin. They kept a centralized government and standardized systems, but softened the harsh legalist policies, blending them with the more humane principles of Confucianism. Under the Han, Confucianism became the official state ideology. A sophisticated civil service was established, and officials were selected based on their merit and knowledge of the Confucian classics, tested through a system of examinations. The Han dynasty was a period of immense prosperity, territorial expansion, and technological innovation. Under the reign of Emperor Wu, one of the most powerful Han emperors, the empire's borders expanded significantly into parts of modern-day Vietnam and Korea. He also sent expeditions west, which led to the establishment of the Silk Road. This legendary network of trade routes connected China to Central Asia, India, and even the Roman Empire. For the first time, silk, spices, and ideas flowed freely between the East and the West, transforming cultures along the way. The Han dynasty was also a hotbed of invention. During this time, the Chinese invented paper, one of the most important inventions in human history. They also developed the seismograph to detect earthquakes, the wheelbarrow, and significant advancements in medicine, astronomy, and agriculture. This golden age, like all others, eventually came to an end. A combination of factors, including power struggles within the royal court, peasant rebellions fueled by land inequality, and growing threats from nomadic tribes, weakened the Han dynasty. It finally collapsed in 220 AD, ushering in a period of disunity known as the Three Kingdoms period, a dramatic and romanticized era of warfare that would last for several centuries. But the legacy of ancient China was firmly set. The political and social structures created by the Qin and Han, the philosophical traditions of the 100 schools of thought, and the incredible technological innovations had laid a foundation that would influence not just China, but the entire world for thousands of years to come. From the concept of the mandate of heaven to the invention of paper, the echoes of this ancient civilization are all around us. The story doesn't end here, of course, but it's where we'll pause our journey for today. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of ancient China. I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to History of the Ancient World for more journeys into our shared past. Let me know in the comments which part of ancient Chinese history you found most interesting. Until next time, stay curious.